sir, teachers, and my dear friends. It is my great honor and pleasure to introduce our guest of honor today, Dr. V. Satyanarayana, sir. He is here to speak on the topic infrastructure contracts, public private partnership. Well, his achievements and contributions are well known in the community. However, I feel it is important to provide a brief overview of his impressive accomplishments. Dr. V. Satyanarayana, sir, holds a PhD degree from NLSIU and completed postdoctorate program from ISEC Bengaluru. He is presently Senior Advisor in Infrastructure Development Corporation Limited and the Director of India Public Private Partnership Capacity Building Trust. He has worked for more than 39 years in the public sector and private sector organizations with expertise in the areas of public policy making, legal documentation, regulatory and contractual matters in the development of infrastructure through private sector participation. He has worked in assignments on public procurement, legislative drafting, legal opinion across sectors such as highways, railways, ports, and so on. He is also a master trainer for the National Capacity Building Program, Government of India, and a key resource person for conduct of training programs in India and abroad. He has conducted training for senior government officials in India, Bangladesh, Nigeria, and Sri Lanka in development of infrastructure through public-private partnership arrangements. It is truly an honor to have him with us today, and I invite you all to join me in giving him a warm welcome. Please put your hands together for Dr. V. Satyanarayana sir. I would request sir to take over the session.
This one, please. Good afternoon and warm welcome to you all for this session on infrastructure contracts. What are you comfortable with? English, Hindi, or Kannada? Kannada?
It's a mixed crowd wherein couple of them English would be a common one.
Okay.
A couple of them do not understand
Kannada. Hindi? Some of them don't understand. Is that the case? Okay. I'll continue in English. So, wherever you think you want to interfere, you want to have better understanding, either you can speak to me in Kannada or Hindi. How many are familiar with infrastructure, the word infrastructure? What do you think is infrastructure? Anybody can answer. What do you think is infrastructure? I'm setting the context here because you have learned about contracts, contract 1 and contract 2, right? You have learned about offer, acceptance, consideration, all of these you have learned. You also learned to some extent, I think, contracts 2 of liability and what all you have learned. In contract 2, what have you learned in the present semester? Indemnity, guarantee, warranty, yeah. Partnership act, right? So if you look at the infrastructure, you have combination of all these things are there, and much more. There will be much more, which perhaps you will be learning in your future classes also. But it's a culmination or a combination of all the legal aspects of it. This one. So in the sense that on infrastructure, one has to understand there are. Let me go to the next slide, which will. What would this contain? Infrastructure. Have you heard of PPPs? Who has heard about PPPs? Just lift your hand. Heard of PPPs? PPPs. What do you mean by public-private partnership? No. Okay. Can you name some of the projects which is under PPPs in Karnataka? Anyone can name any project in Karnataka, infrastructure projects.
Solar panel installation. Solar panel installations.
Solar panel, yes, to some extent, it's not completely PPP. PPP would be where government and private. Solar panel I can install in my house, right? So it is not a
large
PPP.
scale they are installing after the Karnataka electric board.
Colleges they are installing.
No sir, In the large scale, under Karnataka Electric Board, they are installing in the large scale.
Correct. If it is a government which is installing it,
Also, they are provided tender to private
tender, yeah, that's what. Government invites tender for providing solar panels in colleges, hospitals, education institutions, and government buildings. That will become a PPP. If it is a private, if daily tries to install a solar panel, it will not be a PPP, right? Government is not the public. It's not for public use. It is exclusively for the captive use, right? Captive use and by the private sector cannot be PPP. I'll explain that. So what we are going to cover here, to a large extent, let us understand what is infrastructure and what is PPP. Infrastructure in this case, I am not going to talk about the private contract where one person has given a loan of 100 rupees to another person, taking back the loan. This is not the case. This is about projects, infrastructure projects, for instance, airport, port, largely about 100 crores and above projects. We are talking about large projects, not a small project, long duration projects. Okay. Then we are going to talk about what are the risks when you are taking up such a large project. For instance, Bangalore International Airport project or your solar project, which is a large project, assuming 100 crores of project, which you want solar panels to be installed. Assuming government says all private institutions should be installed with solar panels. So that will be hundreds of crores. So there I am talking about those kind of projects. There will be huge risk there. One, when I am talking about contract, there is a concept called concession agreement. Concession agreement is a central document which builds the relationship between one party to the other party. Government on the one side, private. That I am going to discuss. Then, before I even try and bring in private sector, assuming I am Karnataka government, I want to bring in private sector to do such projects, say a highway project like Bangalore Madur project or Bangalore Mysore project. It's a PPP project. How many of you know it's a PPP project? How many of you know it's a PPP? You know that, right? It's a BOT where you go pay toll and go and use that, right? It's a PPP project. So you may have to do certain legislative and policy changes. The existing laws may not allow you to enter into a PPP contract, enter into a concession agreement with the private sector. So I'm going to talk about that. Few cases, whatever projects we have seen, I see many of you don't know many of the cases, but have you seen Garuda Mall? How many of you seen Garuda Mall? See how many people have seen it. It's a PPP project. Garuda Mall is a PPP like Bangalore Mysore road project. Garuda Mall is I'll explain about it. Moving on, see, infrastructure is provision of basic facilities like roads, highways, ports to the people, right? To the people. And second is there are two types of infrastructure generally that is spoken. There is no hardcore definition, but provision of basic facilities to the people, to the users. One is the economic infrastructure. What is economic infrastructure? Roads, airports, ports, all of these projects, if you develop more and more of these projects, it improves the economy of the area, economy of the country. That's why we hear Mr. Modi talking about I'll build national or Mr. Gadkari, I'll build expressways, highways. Whole reason, whole objective of the state government is to boost the economy, give employment, make industrialization possible, make agriculture goods move from one place to another. That is the importance of economic infrastructure. Then you have the social infrastructure. What is social infrastructure? Anybody can make it guess? Social infrastructure. Social infrastructure are those which is directly affecting me, the person, as a human being. Hospitals, education, all of these are social infrastructure. Schools, these are social infrastructure. All of these infrastructure assets, you can invite private participation under a PPP contract. Concession agreement can be entered. So that is the object. If you look at the definition of PPP, there is no definition, no international definition. Every country has its own definition. But the government of India has made certain laid down some principles which I am going to discuss. See, why do you think government should go for a Bangalore Mysore BOT road or this solar? Why does government wants to go for a investment from the private sector? Why not do it on their own? Many of you would know all these projects today, city roads, water supply, electricity, all of these are provided by government, right? It is provided by government by their own funds. But sometimes what happens, government don't have funds, adequate funds. Like today we are seeing free. The new government is saying they are going to give free electricity, free bus travel. They need money, no? How will they recover that money? For that they will invite private sector investors. Private sector will come, they charge wherever possible. Airports, we pay user fee. How many of you know that we pay user fee? We pay user fee along with the ticket. 260 rupees is the user fee paid. That is for the maintenance of the airport, other paraphernalia, infrastructure assets within the airport. Every person, passenger goes into the airport has to pay money. So, what the government thinks is, if I allow the private sector to come in and do it, right? He will come with his investments. Though he may have the profit motive, he may take the user fee, but he will invest. Private will invest. I will save that money, whatever budgetary money I have, for giving free electricity, or building poor houses for the poor, or providing water supply, or schools or education or health service. So that is the objective. We ask the government, ask the private sector to come and invest. Are you with me? Any questions? Any doubts? You can ask me questions. So financing comes from the private sector. And PPP, as I said earlier, it's a long term. Usually it's a 3 to 30 years, sometimes 50 years contract with a long term contract. So as lawyers, what do you have to do while doing this concession agreement or any contract related to the private sector investment coming in, you have to think through what could be the risk, what could be the happening that could happen within the period of the, for instance, 7th year or 8th year, the water supply project, what could happen? You have to think through that. What could be the risk? For instance, we get water from Kaveri, 110 kilometers away. Is there a possibility of water being getting over? There is no further water after 7th year of the contract. So how do you address? Those are the things as lawyers we have to think and put it in the contract. Address that. So this is the definition carved out by the government of India. If I am saying for a Bangalore Mysore project, let us discuss the Bangalore Mysore project, right? So what is it? How do you say it is a PPP project, right? First thing, it should be a arrangement between public and private. Public is, who is public in this case? Bangalore Mysore project. Bangalore Mysore project, who is the public sector or government?
State,
Sorry,
state government.
state government. State government is the public sector, or KRDCL or any other department, PWD, whoever owns that road. Private is the Nagarjuna or any GMR, any project who have won this project will be public. So it's one of the principles of PPP as per Government of India is met here, state and private. Second, provision of services for public benefit by private. So what is the services is providing? Bangalore Mysore project. What is the service is providing to the people? ಏನು ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ? Transport or people to move from one place to another in vehicles. So he's charging tolls for it, right? So second condition. Third, investment. Government has not invested any money in that. State government has not invested any money. It has only given the land or what you call as a right of way. Then it is for a 15-year or a 20-year period. I don't know how many years it has. It has been. It's a 20-year period, usually 20-year period. Risk sharing. There will be a lot of risk, tolling risk, demand risk, quality of the road risk, right? Many risks. Villages kind of protection if there is a access is not given to them. All those risks are to be addressed. Then there should be quality of service. Standards are prescribed. Government of India has prescribed certain standards for national highways and state highways. It should be pothole free. Road should be safe to drive on. There should be dividers in the middle of the road. There should be pavement should be there for it. Shelters should be there wherever possible. So certain specifications there, those have to be prescribed. Payments are linked to performance. Suppose the road is not available to the user. If I am traveling, you can't charge toll. Suppose there is a half of the road is not available to you. You can't charge toll as per the concession. So these are the broad 7 principles under the Government of India for a public-private partnership for an infrastructure contract to be entered in. Then if you come to the projects, this has started the whole process of private investments. Started in the UK about 1980s. Margaret Thatcher, the president at the time, the premier of the UK, she conceived that we should do projects, infrastructure projects with private investment. Let government money be utilized for more social sector investment. So many projects have been done, nearly 1823 projects up to 2019, beyond 100 crores. These are large projects have been done in the Government of India domain. So all the many of the states different. So you'll be surprised to know you have water, SW solid waste management, Manakasa. People take it away, no? They take it away, turn it into compost or manure, which is called agricultural manure. Even energy is good. In airports, large airports today, how many of you seen the old airport, Bangalore airport? Old Bangalore airport. So what is the difference between old and new airport? What is the difference?
Recently they did second terminal.
Second term. So much of development. If you go and see there, lot of you know people will enjoy going there. People go there to just spend time. Earlier we used to go there just to take a flight, right? Today, because of the private investment, private efficiency, technology, people who are managing the whole airport, investment, all that has enabled better quality of service to the people. Then you have ports, highways. We have already seen all across Bangalore today. In fact, I read somewhere in Paris, outside Paris, every road which is going out of Paris is a toll road. Same thing is happening in Bangalore also. You go towards Turkur, you have to pay toll. Mysore, you have to pay. Only Kanapura, I think you don't have to pay. All other places you have to pay. And quality is improved. Time taken is less until your vehicle maintenance becomes. Then tourism, lot of tourist facilities that private sector has come. Urban infrastructure, bus terminals, and social. So lot of investment has come, and in future also will be huge investment. For lawyers like you, opportunities are more. That is the intent of saying this. Will be huge opportunities, legal interpretation, documentation will be. If you look at the private sector participation, there are one is I told about contracting with the concession agreement. But there are largely these three types: management, operation maintenance, and these are the three types of contract. Different for lawyers, it's important to understand what are the types of contract. We will not go get into details of each and every, but these are the largely used contracts in India. One is in management. Management is where private sector will come only do the management of the asset. Anybody from Hubli Dharwad here? Hubli Dharwad. So you have seen some places in Hubli Dharwad, Belgaum and Gulbarga. What is the price improved? You are aware of that?
The road quality is not taken.
Ah. 24/7 water supply has started.
Yes, sir. Unfortunately, some localities it has put in.
Some locality. So that improvement happened because of the private sector. In this case, private sector was invited to come and improve the quality of the pipelines, supply of water, pressure, everything. But at that time, government, that's where the lawyers functionality will come. Lawyers were asked, in fact, we were asked, can this be given to private sector? And what was this was a 3 year contract. So under the municipal law, we said, okay, the government will be or Hubli Dharwad Municipal Corporation can enter into a agreement with private sector. Now question was, since it was being given for 3 years, Commissioner Hubli Dharwad Corporation said, sir, I want to give my employees working with me, about 800 employees are there, wallmen, this, that, engineers and all, to work with them to understand how they are doing, what improvement they are bringing, so that after 3 years when they go away, our people should be able to manage the asset, whatever, and underground. Then we found that government employees can't work for private sector. They have to be in government. You can't work in go on deputation or anything. Then they had to amend the rules. The employees' rules, service rules were amended for this particular project. So that's where a lawyer's kind of capability will come to examine the rules, municipal registrations or service rules, whatever. Then we have operation and maintenance. Assuming now Bangalore Mysore project 15 years is over. Nothing happens to the road. Road is as good as before, right? Then the government can give the same agreement, same project only on operation and maintenance. Another 15 years, there is no construction. Private sector will continue to manage. That is a O&M or a operation maintain concession. Build, operate, transfer. That is what today we are saying the Bangalore Metro or Solar build up. They come, they build, they invest on the project, they operate it, and finally give it back to government. Full privatization is not easy. So we will leave that. It's not easy. So we just now talked about the government by on its own spending through its budget and putting up the projects. Right? That is one model. Another model is private sector coming, entering into construction material and contracting. The differences where the investment is coming from the private sector. You see the last slide. Government procures only the services. Government says, you give me the road, you continue to invest in that, whatever during the 15-20 year period. Toll the project. You toll for the user or take user charge. If it is Udhidharwad water supply, you charge the water supply charges, monthly charges, and you sustain that. Right? Different models are there. This is one of them. So different types of contracts are there. One is government by itself contracting, private sector, what are the benefits is what we are talking. We are, government usually procures the service. Service, it doesn't ask you to how you prepare the, design the project, design do the, manage the traffic, nothing is taken care of by the government. Whereas in a publicly invested project, publicly if it is budgetary invested, I have to go and see how the project is being constructed, managed. Are you clear? Any questions so far? I see many blank faces. Is it too high, too difficult for you to follow? This is an important aspect which in any contract it is there, but in infrastructure contract one has to look at the different kind of risk that are. So I think I will have to spend some time on this. This is applicable to all contracts, not only for infrastructure contracts, but all contracts. One has to, even if it's a landlord, tenant, or a simple contract, it's you name any simple contract, which is a buying and selling of car. If I want to sell my car, again I will enter into a contract. Suppose I'm giving it for 1 year, use it. After that, you can pay me the full amount. There are many things one has to see during the period of 1 year, or in this case, infrastructure project. What are the risks one has to foresee and address that in a concession agreement, right? Now, first we talked about regulatory issue. What is regulatory issue? The regulation or the laws. For instance, I spoke about the water supply. The law today was government employees will not work for private. So they had to change the law. Similarly, for other aspects, for solid waste, for municipal waste management, you need to have a law. 2000, year 2000, one of the first instances they brought a law. First time under the Environment Protection Act. Municipal solid waste management and handling Act 2000. In that they said the government secretary of the government is responsible to see that all the waste that is generated from household is properly managed. So if you see, if you go back 5, 10, 15 years, the whole process of the municipal corporation, you are saying announcements today. Onakasa, Asikasa, all that you are saying, no? Dry waste, wet waste, how you have to segregate that. This was not there earlier. This has been possible because of the change in the law. 2016, they also brought this amendment to that law, municipal waste law. Then they also brought out plastic waste management, right? So they also brought out biomedical waste. If you go to any hospital or a dispensary, you see orange box, red box, right? These are all as a result of changes in the regulatory changes. Rules are changed, right? One has to look at the whatever project. For instance, Bangalore, Mysore highway project. What could be the regulatory? What are the laws that could be applicable? You are now read some law. What law could be applicable there? What is the law, principal law in Bangalore Mysore project should be made applicable? That is the regulation I'm talking about. When you structure a contract, you have to look at what are the laws that is applicable. For, for household waste, it is a municipal waste. For the Bangalore Mysore road, you have a highway act because it's a national highway, right? You have a contractor. You have a land acquisition act, right? Land has to be provided, right? Earlier it was a single road or a double road. Now they have made it 4 lane to 6 lane. So, 8 lane because it's service roads. So land has to be acquired. So first instance, they look at the land acquisition. What is the land acquisition? What is the settlement? What should be the resettlement? Laws come into picture at the time. They'll advise the government or any other agency. For instance, alongside this highway, this private fellow wants to put a hotel. We don't have restaurants. All the restaurants are closed because of the land. So he may want to find a place, buy a land, or take a land on lease. Basically. All those things will have to be factored by the lawyers advising the private company. If you are working for a private, so working for the government, you have to see whether he can set up the restaurant there or a petrol pump. You may need gradually. Today, the road has come, but tomorrow you may need car repair workshops will be required. Restaurants will be required. Hospitals or small accident related, even government of India is saying that for safety issues, you have to have some hospitals or emergency facilities on the highways. So 110 kilometers there is an accident happening. So nearest hospital to be rushed to hospital, patient has to be rushed. So all those legal aspects of putting up these facilities will be one of the aspects which will be risk. That is what you are going to look. Then political risk. Anybody can contribute to what is the political risk? What is the political risk in a Bangalore Mysore project or a solar project? Little louder.
Government get changes, then contract will be get trouble because of the poor expenses.
Change of government is saying.
Change of government. If there's a change in government, GMR invested in Mauritius invested in an airport project. Sorry, Maldives. Maldives, about 15 years back, they invested in a airport project. They spent more than 800,000 crores. Infrastructure project. Private sector participation, PPP on that. Government changed. Central government in Maldives changed. They said we want to cancel this from a different line. So they had to go to arbitration in Singapore. The lawyers in GMR were to advise the MD of GMR how to go about it. So the legal role, lawyer's role becomes very important. It's a running contract. Political risk. Today, Congress government has come. They may say, we don't want some of the projects that are there. Right? So that is a political, forcibly taking over a running contract. Okay? So political risk. Commercial risk. Commercial risk I just now mentioned.
Hotels are closed.
Like there are many hotels and restaurants are there along this highway. They get closed. So how to revive that? What are the ways?
Petrol pumps are also.
Sorry?
Petrol pumps are also.
Petrol pumps, restaurants.
Small scale.
How to? Suppose assuming this government has some excess land along the alignment of this road. So you can give those land on lease. Commercially you can exploit them. Government will get extra money. Right? So what are the risks in putting that? How do you enable that? All those things have to be done. Then the financial risk. This is one of the most important aspect for the essentially private sector. Whenever a private developer invests in this public project, Bangalore Airport, the investment there is 2,500 crores. What will he do? Where will he go for 2,500 crores? Any suggestions? Banks. Banks and financial institutions. That's where again lawyers will come into play. All the documentation with the banks and the promoter, Bangalore International Airport Limited, will be done by the lawyers, in-house lawyers or external lawyers appointed by BIA. Right? So they have to see how to raise this money and also what is the interest rate, negotiations with the banks. See, typically 2,500 crore in infrastructure projects, what happens in practical terms, one bank will not. You are already seeing it will be a conglomeration of banks, consortium of banks, 5 to 6 banks, maybe 10 banks, each one will come in with a one contribution for the project. So you can imagine the number of the contractual documentation involved in this kind of a transaction. So what are the risks? How will you repay the airport project? How will you repay? Suddenly due to COVID, the business comes down. There is no passenger footfall. So he has to pay his EMI. Right? So he can't pay that. All that, how do you look at that? Those contractual conditions will come in the concession. Then the market risk, again, related to COVID, market, demand risk. Garda Mall, I have built it. Very well done, everything. Maverick Holdings is a promoter. Suppose people stop going into the mall. One, due to COVID, they didn't go. But whatever reason, they prefer some other mall. So that is a market risk. How do you address it? These aspects have to be factored in the consideration. Land is the most important. Shimaga Airport, there was just on the runway when they were acquiring land. Now the airport is ready. Talking about 15 years back. About 200 settlements there. Houses were built. So how do you remove them? Where do you sell them up? It's a huge kind of a risk government has to look at. So they will issue the notification, well in time, rehabilitate those people, 200 people, and free up the land for the airport to be operated. So that has to be looked land acquisition. And those related risks, what are they? See, land acquisition, there is also one issue. If it is in the forest area, environment loss, one has to go through it. Is suppose there is already a tarred road. We found this in Sandur, Bellary. Anybody from Bellary side here? Bellary. Sandur, you are familiar with Sandur? Sandur bypass was built about 15-20 years back. There are different roads leading to Hospet, Bellary, iron ore mine. So there is some parcel of land which is within the forest area. So what happens as per environment regulations, which as lawyers we should understand, you can't put tar there. Whatever tar is already there, you can't put even an inch of tar because of the environmental regulations requirements. Government of India has to approve it. So these are the things one has to go through, understand, and include it in the how do you then in that portion, assuming it is a 4 kilometer stretch out of 70 kilometer stretch of this road, Indore bypass, which was passing through the forest area. So we had to say in this area, in the contract, in the concession agreement, you will not put any additional tax. The existing road you can strengthen, you can improve. When the developer, private fellow who came and bid for the project, DS Construction. DS Construction said because he was to be maintaining that road. Another advantage of private sector is this. Bangalore Mysore road, you give it to private sector, he will do it so well, so he did not keep spending money on it. In Sandor bypass, he told me, DS Construction, sir, though it is a state highway, I am going to improve it to a national highway level. Because I am in Delhi. He did the Delhi Gurgaon road. That development. He said, I don't want to come again and again here and keep working on this project. So I'll do it first class. So what happened? Sandor people, Bellary people, they got a better quality of because of private things. If government had done it, they would not have done it. So one needs to look at the land acquisition, land related laws one has to look. Then the construction risk. In construction, what happens? In construction, you have to get raw material from different places, right? Iron, cement, many aspects of the construction part come from different locations. Even the construction quality or the structural part, many things are there in construction. One has to see how does the private fellow come and construct the project. Assuming it is a mall, like we found in Garuda Mall in Mysore. How many of you seen Garuda Mall, Mysore? Mysore in it is that is near the BMTC bus stand, local bus stand. What happened there? During looking at the contractual aspect of drawing the contract, we found that just near that Garuda Mall, there is a heritage palace, Mysore Palace. You know, it's about less than half a kilometer from the palace. One of the building bylaws of the municipal corporation, Mysore, says that you can't have any building at least maybe 1 kilometer in the radius of that palace. Above that, whatever the palace height, your building has to be at that height. You can't have more than. So what happened in Garuda Mall? He couldn't build. He found out that and mentioned that in the construction agreement. But he still went on building it because he wanted to have theatre. What do you call that? Theatres there? Huh? Theatres in malls.
PVR.
PVR. So he wanted to have a PVR there on the top floor. He couldn't build it because of this regulation, building bylaw. So construction risk, which not only raw material, building bylaws is the kind of thing we need to, as lawyers, need to examine and suitably write the things. Then the technology risk. Are you okay with what we are talking about? Makes sense? Is it interesting for you all?
Yes, sir.
Because as lawyers, sooner or later you may have to come across these kind of issues. When you are structuring your contract, you have to understand, you have to ask the right questions. Because many of the other colleagues of yours may not be lawyers. So you have to think little differently. You may have to read through the regulations, understand, be prepared, and go there with all the whatever is required. But they expect the lawyers to give the proper advice, and sometimes they are really a time. Lawyers save a lot of money. If you go to talk to a JMR lawyer, he will say, I have saved 800 crores to my company today. Because because of his advice, huge money is saved in the corporate sector and of course government. So coming to technology, one interesting aspect of it. Technology keeps changing, especially in software and hardware. We did a project. You all have your driving license, right?
Yes, sir.
Driving license. It's a smart card,
Yes, sir.
right? Registration of vehicles is a smart card. About 10, 12 years back, this was introduced. Before that, it was a book kind of thing. I had a very old book kind of thing. The smart card was introduced through a PPP arrangement. Transport department said we will have some vendor, software and hardware vendor, come and develop this smart card concept and sell it. They charge something extra, the 300 rupees or something like that they charge. Earlier it was not there. They used to charge only 50 rupees. Now for license and registration form and all that, they are charging because they are issuing smart card. All RTOs across Karnataka, smart cards are being issued. So they said, the government said, we will have a private sector tax. The whole process of tender, somebody talked about tender, you are familiar with tender. Whole process of tender took nearly 1.5 years, 2 years. Tender vendor was smart card technology. He was selected. He was selected. He was given the order to do the smart card. But by that time, his other work was also for the 9 months previously. He has to enter all the details of each one of you. Your names in a software, in a data entry has to be done. So that they can import it into the smart card. So by the time he came in, he was selected and started work, technology changed. Even today we are talking about highways. Technology is soon going to change. You don't have to
Fast track.
smart card, is it?
Fast track. Fast track, sir.
Faster. That is change. But again it's going to change, no? Anybody? What is that? What is without having a fast value device, right? I heard some like Dubai and all that is like that. Monthly credit card you will get the statement. So technology is changing. So we while preparing this concession agreement, you have to think about it and write to it. Then there is a cost overrun. Perhaps you guys do not know people who construct houses. Any one of you have been engaged or understand construction of houses, your own house. So there is a delay. There are huge costs, right? It happens all the time. It happens. Every house, some cost or the other goes up. So cost overrun risk is that. You have to understand and see how to avoid that, how to limit your cost overrun. Then finally, post measure. Post measure is a risk. You under the contract law, you have this concept called supervening circumstance, where both parties, I think section 56 or something like that, which where both parties are unable to do the obligations set out in the contract because of supervening reasons beyond their control. What could be the reasons beyond the control? Anybody can contribute? No? Calamity, natural calamity, fire,
Flood. Flood.
little louder. Sorry, somebody can pass on what they are saying. So post measure conditions have to be considered and suitably in concession contracts. You give some time. Suppose there is a fire, you give some time to come back to original position. It takes 2, 3 months or 6 months. Some conditions are written in the concession agreement. So you have to factor. Then O&M risk, operation maintenance risk. During operations of this highway, what could be the risk? What could be the risk in the highway operations? Well, huh? Little louder, and little louder. Somebody can hear and again tell me what could be the problems in a Bangalore Mysore highway? Accidents.
Problem for residents.
Huh?
Problem for residents.
Problem for
Residents.
movement. Accidents or some potholes. I mean, you have to operate, keep on maintaining ship shape. Labor problem. So when toll employees are striking, how do you look at that? He has to have some stopgap arrangement. So O&M or operation maintenance risk. So finally coming, what is concession in kind of a legal parlance? It's a bundle of rights. What government does, this is one under the essentially it is under the Easement Act. So kind of a license is given. License to operate, license to construct, license to finance the project. Right? So they have to follow the conditions, rights and obligations given in the concession agreement. It's a bundle of right against certain obligations that they have to perform. And what does it contain? It contains the scope of the project. If you go back to the airport project, he will be given 2,600 acres of unencumbered land by the government. He has to construct the terminal, construct the runway. That is the scope, right? He has to make all the provisions for the passengers to go in. Discuss with the government of India, security agency, bring in security. DGCA enter into agreement with Director General Civil Aviation for the tall tower PC, erection of the tower, right? And the maintenance of the tower. All those things, obligations are written. That is the scope. He is given certain rights. Again, enter into contracts, subcontracts. In this case, Bangalore Airport, he entered into contract with L&T. L&T was the construction contract. So he has to enter into subcontract. All those rights and obligations are there. How do you execute the project? I just now mentioned one or two things. You will execute the project, manage and maintain it for 30 years, then finally hand over back to government. Conditions for operation of the infrastructure or the delivery of revenue. So now we are coming to the heart of the discussion. This is very important, the concession agreement. This is about 450 to 300 pages. Usually, Government of India has come out with several models. So this highway, Bangalore, Mysore, you have a model agreement. You can open the net, download it. It will be helpful for you to read through what are the different conditions, covenants. Broadly, this is what it will contain. For ports, for railway stations, for energy-related projects, we have model documents. For water supply, different state governments are coming. Tourism, if you go to smart city mission, smart city projects, street lights. Today, Mysore street lights are privately managed. How many of you know this? Privately managed street lights, LED lights, is privately managed. The contract contains you will switch on at 6 o'clock in the evening, switch off 6 o'clock in the morning. Right? Each of the details, certain lux level it's called. How far you have to ride put the lamp post, street light in one place for 30 meters. What light power should be there? How frequently you have to change? How many lights you are allowed to hit without changing? Suppose there's a night, there is some problem with there. There are certain conditions in the agreement, concession agreement, that they go into so much of detail. Right? So that is the terms and conditions of the agreement has to be written. What is the scope of it? Conditions present. What is conditions present? This is again important for you to know, relevant today. In many contracts you don't have this. Only in infrastructure contracts you have typically. Other contracts you may have. Between landlord and tenant you may have. Orally you may say, before I come in, please fix that electricity, that, all the light switches are working, water supply is properly done. That is condition, which orally I will manage it. But in this contract, you will have written down clearly. There are conditions present before doing this. I will not enter into a contract. The contract is not effective even under the contract law. Though I have signed off, but there is a provision within that main concession agreement that until and unless you meet this condition precedent, what is condition precedent? Until you do certain things, contract is not. In this case, Bangalore Mysore will take an example. He is given time to 6 months. Right? The private one. Let us call him Nagarjuna Construction Company. I don't know who is the developer. Nagarjuna is it? No. Assuming it is Nagarjuna Construction Company on the one side and PWD or state government on the other. Right? But what would be the condition precedent? Would say state government will within 6 months hand over the right of way, the road, land, entire land. Model concession agreement, government of India says at least 90% to be given. If you are familiar with that project, even now we see some of the routes to villages or towns along the alignment is not given.
Yes, sir.
Road is still to be built. Why? Because of the land is not entirely handed. 90% of the land is handed over, 10% is still given. That may be a crucial link. So until that is given, he can't manage the entire thing. So 6 months time is given for him to hand over, government to hand over land. Private sector to raise the finances. They have to raise this money. Assuming it is 500 crores, they will not have that money. Company will not have that money. They will have 50 crores or 60 crores. Remaining has to come from bank. So that money has to be raised. Like that, several conditions present. I will not go into too much detail. Then the obligations, we discussed about what could be the obligations. Construction obligation, maintenance obligation, both from the government approvals. We'll have a concept called, it's useful for you to remember, there will be a third party firm, company will be independent engineer, who will be monitoring the construction on behalf of the government and talking to both parties. He will be responsible to give the certification. Quality is good or bad, you repair, maintain, independent engineer. All this will come in the obligation. Payment terms. Payment like you can charge from the users. Or the Nagarjuna Construction Company in this case has to pay the government. All those details will be there. Applicable laws and jurisdiction. These are another important aspects. What are the laws that one has to follow? Then penalties and liquidated damages. This is again under contract law. Liquidated damages, there are, I think, 4 cases are there. There, if you have clearly written in the agreement that this is the kind of a damages or a penalty I am going to charge, only that will be given to the other party. Right? You can't ask more than what is written there. Right? So all this kind of money, for each day of delay in completing this project, he will have to pay. There will be a concept called performance security. Assuming 1,000 crores is the project, 100 crore bank guarantee would have given, 10% of it would have given to the loan. So any default in this contract, once any breach, he has to make good that compensation. He has to pay. He's given time for 1 month, 2 months. For instance, potholes, in this case, pothole repair. He is not doing for a long time. He has to pay. He has to do it within 15 days or 1 month. Right? Performance monitoring, independent engineer will be monitoring the performance. Performance security asset. Insurance, another important aspect. We discussed about force majeure, fire, or strike. You have to have that insured. You have to produce those documents to the government saying that I have got it insured. Otherwise, the government is at risk. Isn't it? Being the landowner, all the time, government is responsible to provide the service. Be it highway, water supply, whatever government is. You don't get that service, you will go against the government. You will not ask the Nagarjuna. Termination conditions, breach conditions, which you find in any contract. You have to perform as per contract. You are all with me or any doubts, any I hope you are understanding or is it clear or any questions? Anybody can ask me questions. It will not be a monologue from my side. Anything you can ask me. How do you deal with this? There are many examples out there. So I have done nearly 600 contracts here, 600 assignments, different contracts. So I can recall many of these projects and tell you what happened in there. You can assume certain risks and ask how do you deal with it.
So what if there is no government clearance that has to be given and there's a delay that happens from the government side, and because of which the execution of the contract is not possible, and wherein the penalty is to be imposed on the private partnership that is going to be taking place from the government end. When they said that the ground clearance would be given in a couple of days within the scope of it. When we are going for the partnership, we will be specifying the scope of work that we will be there. Like us, there are maybe another 10 more people who would be there taking the turnkey projects that are there. Then, if there is a delay that's happening for the government clearances, what's the right as a partner I would be having?
Yeah, that most of the government clearances are covered in the condition precedent time. You get 6 months time to government to get all the clearance. Mostly it is the private sector who does the environment clearance. Only land is the government sector. So for land, they say within 6 months you have to do the land. If you don't give it, penalties are written in the contract. Suppose it doesn't, the period is also over. Another 1 month, 1% of the performance security. Value of the property. He has given 10 crores assuming. 1% of the amount on a daily basis, government has to pay until it is done. Doesn't happen at all. Or it's land doesn't get handed over at all. Then the contract gets terminated there. During the condition precedent period. Usually government clearance is only there.
Usually, for the windmill projects that are there,
Ah,
the ground clearance has to be there or the land clearance is
absolutely.
required, or when you are installing the 22 220-watt cables that has to be installed, the towers that has to be installed there, for the installation and erection of the towers that are there, the land has to be procured from the farmers wherein the delay happens for those ones,
Sure.
and by the time there is an unforeseen climatic situation that does arise, but that impacts on the bank guarantee, right, for those all
Very
things.
So what we advise government in such cases, until you have the land in your control, don't enter into contract with the government. Have the maximum land rights if you want with the government. This we saw in Uttarakhand, appropriate projects as you rightly said. You need to have for those pillars, every other 100 meters or 200 meters, you need a land belonging to the either forest department or to the private land. So we advise them don't go for public contracting until you get the land. One small portion here and there is okay. Because private sector also what they do, they go and approach the private sector and farmer and pay some money and take it. Especially in this energy projects and all that. They take it because their project will settle. But usually we say unless you have the complete 90% of the alignment of the project, you should not go for tender. Therefore, in fact, sometimes if we advise government, there is a two-stage procurement. Even for tendering, first stage you look at the qualification of the developer, whether he is capable of doing this project or not. Then you look at the finance system, his financial standing and all. So we advise them go through a request for qualification document, RFQ. It's enough at this stage for you to remember RFQ, request for qualification. And once I am qualifying the developer, then I have some time, for 2 to 3 months time for request for proposal, RFP. So at this stage, RFQ and RFP two stage is there available in the Government of India circulars and notification. They have prepared model. That's also contractual document. Later on, when once you go further in your classes, maybe you will have to come through this tender documents. Somebody talked about tender. So RFQ and RFP is nothing but a tender. So government has to pay. Government can't pay. There are provisions in the construction agreement where government has to pay. But essentially, the concession condition period time, concession period, not during contract. During contract period, private sector has to pay. Especially in the solid waste project, landfills or treatment plants, every year he has to take an authorization from the pollution control board as per the pollution control law. So it's private sector who has to. Mavalipura, anybody has heard about Mavalipura? Mavalipura in Bangalore, that's where they had this problem. The government, the pollution control board, during the concession period, didn't give approval because they were throwing waste all over, not managing the waste, household waste. You can Google and find out. Problems in Mavalipura. Then there is a dispute resolution. Again, the lawyer's role will be significant in dispute unless you have a lawyer who comes and interprets the contract, gives the proper advice. Either it be a GMR or Adani or state government. Everybody needs a legal advice. In the dispute resolution, in this contract, you have conciliation at the first level, then mediation, then arbitration. At each of these levels, they expect the help of a lawyer to come and tell. Because what happens, right, lawyers like you, many of you will be joining the private sector, right? You'll be working for Adani or Jima or any other company. So what will Adani have? You will have always the services of your lawyer service within in-house legal counsel. But whereas government will not have. Government has to go to the law department. So it takes a lot of time for government to get the correct interpretation, detailing, all this. So the lawyer's role becomes very critical. Essentially, when he is in the private sector or is a law firm or a litigant lawyer, litigation lawyer, I was talking about RFQ and RFP, you have so much of litigation there because there will be multiple private people bidding for this project, government project. One or the other, some issue will be there. This Garuda Mall, that was the issue. There were two bidders in that. What did one bidder, IRB infrastructure, what did he do? There was a court case in that. He cleverly, while putting his bid, parking, parking area, he reduced that area. He reduced the parking area. Not as per bylaw, but he reduced it and gave a higher tender amount. The matter went before the court. Lawyers went and fought and ultimately Maverick presented. So a lot of legal. Then we're almost coming to the last of the slide. This is, I have time another 5 minutes. 10 minutes. These are the schedules. So you can imagine lot of detailing has to go into infrastructure contracts because it's a long-term contract. You need to understand a lot of things are there which one cannot, while drafting the agreement, will not be able to consider. To the extent possible, more and more details are put in, especially in these schedules. Adam spoke about permits. So permits, detailed schedule will be there. What are the permits? Who will obtain? When will it be obtained? All that will be in the contract itself, the concession agreement itself. Project facilities means what are the facilities that have to come up there. Compulsorily, government wants certain facility. For instance, it's a tourism facility. You may want public toilets to be compulsorily put there, where the toilet is managed. Or some amusement facility compulsorily to be put. So all those things will be in the schedule. Together. Then this is a highway example. Then performance security will discuss. There is a bank guarantee format will be. Project completion schedule. There will be a timetable. Like since it's a long-term contract, you will have a lot of details during construction time. What he has to do during maintenance time. What. Then drawings, has to be carried out. So there's so many details. There will be a panel of chartered accountants which will be given. If there is any issue between the parties, they have to approach. Substitution agreement is one more. I will discuss that. So once the concession agreement is entered into the SPV is a special purpose vehicle. Suppose Nagarjuna has awarded this Bangalore Mysore project. They have set up one more company. If you have seen on the road to the airport, Devanadi Tollway or Tumkur Tollway, you would have seen private limited company. Name of the, if you, when you go next, you can see what is the name of the company. That company will be dedicated to that project. Since this is a long-term, high-value infrastructure project, each project will have a dedicated company to be set up. That's when today, as I am speaking, my colleagues in Chennai are preparing a document for setting up of a company. You will see that in paper soon. Tamil Nadu, Chennai River Management Company for river management in Chennai, Adyar River, and other rivers later on. They are setting up a company. Government is setting up a company. But in this case, private will set up a company. Then once they win this project, Bangalore Mysore project or airport, must have heard BIAL, Bangalore International Airport Limited. That's a dedicated company only for the Bangalore area. So that will enter into concession agreement. They in turn will enter into with the construction contract. Operation and maintenance another contract. So one can imagine the number of agreements, legal documentation that will go in a PPP infrastructure. So it's difficult for you to in one class understand all, but at least names is what I thought I'll tell you. So that will help you. The procuring authority is government. They enter into concession agreement. Concessionaire SPV. They will enter. This is an interface. There is another agreement between construction contractor and the world contractor. Construction fellow airport. They will construct and go away after 12 months after construction. Then the warranty contractor will come. He will manage the airport, all the facilities. You can imagine such a large structure. So he will have some interface with him. Some electric fittings you have done, how have you done? Pipelines you have done underground. Now today metro is coming there. So all those things will be in this. Lenders, finance we spoke about. Equity is the shareholding. Nagarjuna will be investing in this new company that they are doing. There is the shareholding agreement. Sponsors will have equity into that. They will give their money into that. So this is the kind of a complex legal relationship for lawyers to understand. So your interface, your intervention will be in each of these contracts later on, not now. First will be the only concession agreement. If you are working for government. If you are working for private, all these other companies, agreements. So I'm going to the beginning now. If you are going to do some project, infrastructure project, as I said, that could be the water supply, we did some. What did government of India do? Initially, they, as early as 1948, the old act didn't have private participation. Private sector won't come. As Madam said, many said all that private won't come and do it. They had to amend the Electricity Act. They amended the National Highway Act. They amended the Aircraft Act, aircraft rules. Right? Like that. Certain facilitation was done by the government where lawyers like you help the government in structuring, developing the rules, bylaws, or regulations. These were set up. This is very important. People, you can get employment opportunity in regulators. TRAI, electricity regulator. Today, electricity regulator has said 71 paisa per unit has to be increased. How did it come about? Lawyers have advised them under this law, under this type of activity you can do it. State governments also come with many policies, intelligent state government. Lawyers have to contribute to that. I have contributed to 97 law, the policy of the Karnataka, 2015 and 2019. 3 times they brought this Karnataka. So Another important aspect is of the integration of the policy. You must have heard about smart cities. You have heard about smart city. In Bangalore, many projects have been taken. Under that, they say, on solar mission, National Highway Development Program. First, we have to go to a PPP mode. Try and get the project with private sector participation. Unless you do that, don't come to government for payment. Budgetary devolution will not be made. So, you like it or not, this will be there in the future also. Next 5, 10 years, 50 years. Existing contracts, PPP contracts will be complicated to do that. Lawyers like you will have to go and interpret, give your suggestions. I'll give you some examples how this, where all they have applied. Specific example. Trivandrum city roads, we did this project within the city. There is no toll there, but government made the payments. 42 kilometers of the road. So improvement was done by the private sector, PPP builder. Land acquisition issues were there since it is a city. Land acquisition problem. Contract was renegotiated. Then we have public parking in Delhi. Again, the parking was an issue. See, area was getting congested. So public parking was given to private sector to manage. Some were commercial, like Karna Mall is actually a public parking project. Government Municipal Corporation of Bangalore said that I will give some facility to the people coming there for car and scooter parking. It all started there. Then who will come for public parking? You know, there is no revenue model for the private sector. If you are a developer, you will not get parking fee is only 50 rupees, 100 rupees. It's not enough for you to sustain. So they said you build a mall. Then you had markets. Madiwala market. Who was in Madiwala market? Madiwala is a government building. Long back, it was a government building. Government did that. But nobody was taking it. Nobody was taking the place there because it's a multi-story building. And the market can happen only in ground and first floor. So other floors, nobody was coming there. So they said we'll give it to private sector, through a tender. Government jail was the first concessionaire. He was a 30 years contract was entered. He improved it. Now he is using the thing. Housing project, Dharavi, Vijipura. Of course, that didn't happen. Still important. Huh?
Nijampura. So Nijampura, sir.
Nijampura.
Nijampura, sir.
Yes, sir. In Bangalore, Vijipura near Koramangala,
Yes, sir.
we did this project. 1,540 flats, economically weaker section flats, were in a very bad condition. Government said, BBMP said, we will demolish this and construct new flats for the people living. But what happened? They didn't have the money. They don't have money to pay the contractors. Then they said, we go to private participation. They entered into a contract. And some problems are there. This is what you can do. You can advise the government in doing so. PWD rest houses, government rest houses or DC bungalows in the state. They said we will give it to private sector. For DC, it needs a very small portion. No, it has a big 2 acre, 3 acre plots. It has a swimming pool and all. That thought process was there. Didn't happen. When government felt that you can give it to private and get a better return. There are lakefront, riverfront projects. So these are the typically you have to concentrate on read. Anyway, during your course you will read some of this. So Sale of Goods Act, TP Act, and all that you already read. So you have to understand the perspective of entering into contract. How do you look at it? Then this is what I have listed out. What could be the opportunities? Once you become lawyers, advisory, giving consulting in contract formation, the concession agreements and all the government's approach, law firms, interpretation, Indian tax huge fees are charged. Once we went for government wanted a interpretation of a contract, one of the land related lawyers. He said for one reading of the concession agreement, I charge 2 lakh rupees from government. So there is a huge potential is there for lawyers to do different kind of activities, works in the infrastructure. To get to become an expert in this kind of infrastructure contracts, specialized contracts. You have a lot of opportunity. Enforcement of contractual provisions. Then in-house exercise GMR policy, public policies you need laws. Legislative drafting. I have drafted tourism law, policy and act for tourism in Karnataka. I have drafted a law for Jaipur, Jaipur Water Supply Board. I have drafted for Chhattisgarh, Naya Rajya Development Authority Act. Under that, the new act was to be done for developing Naya Rajya, new capital city. Professor Nandimat was also there with us in that. NIDA. So like that, there are huge opportunities, drafting of legislations, litigation, dispute management, and legal opinion. So with this, I can take questions. I hope this was useful for you to recollect and read further. What is it? Yes.
So, when it came regarding this PPP, shall I start?
Yeah.
Okay, so regarding this toll, though it is public-private partnership, though it is public-private partnership, the cost, the expenses faced by public is high. The quality is justifiable here, but at the same time, when you see the example of Surokkal toll, if you see that particular case, there was a toll which was just 10 kilometers away. As per highway rules, it has to be a minimum of 60 kilometers. The question here is the regulation when there is a concession agreement happening and there is a grant given by the government to the private parties. The regulation here comes by mutual understanding, or is it a government's regulation more over the private?
Government order. From the mutual understanding.
It is not.
In this case,
Yeah. Okay.
direct
Not like in tariffs, but see, there was a toll setup in just 10 kilometers, and the government said that it had no idea that there was a toll setup. So, what was the
so that must be out of contract. No, it will not be there in the contract.
okay? But how come government did not know this being a toll being that is a question here.
I
Is
have
that
a lot of land in somewhere in America,
yeah, yeah.
and I go there. No? The villager, he charges me toll.
Okay.
And every time I find I am going to visit my plot of land, why are you charging? So illegally they will do that.
But does the private party take privilege of just having taken a particular, you know, territory of and investing there?
If there is a concession contract and if the contract says that you can charge the toll, it's okay. Earlier, before this national highway tolling policy, people used to charge. You read Coimbatore bypass project. Coimbatore, the bridge was constructed within the city, crossing the river and joining the national highway, not a state highway. So there was a huge hue and cry while tolling started. At that time, there was no tolling policy was long. So interesting to read that. Coimbatore bypass project, tolling issues. Right? Anything else? Any other?
Hello, sir. Myself, Janvi. Sir, actually, I have a questions like personal questions. The thing is that, right now we all are the students of law. So, as you said that we have a lots of opportunities in law. So, I would like to know about that. And if being a lawyer, so if we want to draft any contract for the government, so how do we even going to proceed for the further? So, how do we even get into that government contract and everything? So what's the procedure for that?
You could follow. You are advising the government. That's what you are saying.
No, sir. I'm just asking you a question. Like we are our law students right now. So if we want to draft a contract for the government, so what's the procedure for that,
As
and
a
how do
student, I
we?
don't know whether you can do that. Once you join a law firm will be engaged, right? Like
Yes.
I am engaged now through my firm, I like infrastructure, they are engaged. Do the entire, for instance, this Gardamar, only agreement we did. Government will appoint you for preparing this agreement. We prepared the agreement.
So should we
Now,
should we go through the law firm itself? Like we don't have any independently to go and approach the government for the further
you can do independently. Once you finish your law, LLB, read through these things. Be an expert.
Okay.
Understand what are the requirements. There are many model agreements out there. For instance, many of the state governments and central don't have model document. If there's a model document, we go through it and prepare. For instance, the lease of land, we don't have a model. You have to go and see some other model already available in the net. You can approach them and say, as an intern, you can go and work for some time. Understand? There are in Karnataka 12 departments have set up PPP cells, public-private partnership cells, where they look for expertise like lawyers, financing experts. They want. They want to know.
So should we have minimum years of experience to
Not required.
work
Not
with
required.
this?
You are working with some other lawyer. No? Assuming you are working, and when you work with me, we both can work on it.
You can give us an interview.
We can do it.
Like,
Not a problem. Yes.
So private people try to exploit the public. Their main motive is to profit. So when one enter into private participation or private partnership, so like if government would have done this work, their motive is to serve. But if a private person is involved, his motive is to gain the profit. So how to tackle with this issue?
But you have to factor in the agreement. You have to see that. See, in one of the four provisions, there is a clause, windfall gains. You can't take what you call as windfall gains in any project. You get huge profits. You make huge money. There is a provision in the fourth clause contract. Is you cannot make a windfall gain. This group on his operation maintenance period is stolen or in a port, he will be charging fee from the uh, cargo that is coming. Import and export, he is charging in the warehouse. So this everyday revenue is monitored by the government, right? So that way there is a limit beyond certain. See, typically when once we look at the public and private, the general benchmark is we should make 15% internal rate of return. What is internal rate of return? For the investment he has made, this is what is your investment in saving bank account and return 4%, 5%. Fixed deposit 7%. You all know that. Okay. Mutual fund 10 to 12%. In business it is 15%. If you are taking loan, you are taking loan at 11% or 12%. 15% is the return you expect. If you make your return beyond 15%, the returns are beyond 15%, government can step in and say, you are making huge profits, you have to share it. What you call as a golden share or dividend, whatever, or revenue share also is possible. Where you monitor that, don't allow that to happen. In highway projects, there is a problem. Or there is a if there is a fall in revenue, suppose you are assuming Bangalore Mysore Road, 1,000 trucks will go every day, but only 500 goes, whatever reason, because nobody can predict how the business or economics is going to do. Okay. And you have given the contract so big. Then continuously for 6 months, instead of 1,000 trucks, he is getting 500 trucks in. The toll is less. Then he says, I need money, I don't have money. So there is a provision in the concession agreement, what we call as revenue shortfall loan. So government can give him the loans and he can sustain himself for some time until the traffic increases. which is returned back at the time of the 30 year period. It's a long time. So provisions are there in the concession agreement to protect the concessioner and also the government in case of loss.
So it's just a loan, revenue shortfall.
Revenue shortfall
It
loans.
has to be returned back.
Return. Still low interest during that period. Suppose it's traffic increases, you can return. It's only temporary. No? Yes, any other questions?
Any questions from anybody?
Yes, toll notification. You see, one of the schedules is toll notification. And every year there is a formula. Wholesale pricing, that's a consumer pricing basis. But the state government has to even suppose you are given from a lake or a river boat, you will have no marriage. That keeps changing based on the contract. You can have concession agreement there.
Bangalore Mysore Expressway, where this is pro people project, and the people who are opposing it because of lot of fines, lot of toll excess total toll fee, and the people were criticizing the toll highway, and even the localites were aggressive. So what's your view on
See, one side economic condition will improve to other. Thousands of people moving from Bangalore to Mysore and Mysore to Bangalore, their business will improve, right? Economically, the whole region will improve. People in Bangalore and Mysore are aspiring for this for a long time. But even the railways, they said, model line nothing happened, highway nothing was not there. They wanted to speed up the new train has come. So, economic condition will improve overall. This will be a temporary loss of business, the shops going away, and this quality little high. It will be temporary.
and
But if you look
especially
at
the farmers were
farming,
against it because the farmers given the land for the road.
that, that issue is always there. But if you look at overall development, long term, assuming you are 500 years before, no road, nothing, how will you travel from Bangalore to Mysore? I remember my grandfather came by Tonga, Mysore to Bangalore, took him 3 days. It's about 70, 80 years back. Things have changed. People can work in Bangalore, go back to Mysore, right? Be with the family, do something. So it's chicken and egg.
Sir, if the railway authority give some concession for catering, say you can supply food, that is also PPP.
Yeah, that's good. Service. That's a lower form of it's a service contract. We did that for this golden with the train palace on wheels here in Bangalore. It was very good. So I have traveled. The catering was given to private. The parda and all the crockery, cutlery was given to other persons. Another private. Ticketing was given to a third person. All are given. Global ticketing for booking 1 lakh or 1.5 lakh ticket. The golden chariot. Have you heard any other thing? Palace on golden chariot. So that was all PPP, except for the train. Train interiors and all the coloring, painting was done in Chennai. Indian Railways did it. State government, KSTDC and other things are tourism, right? So
So
they
it's a
enter
tie-up
into
that is there
agreements.
with railways and other place TDCs that are there, and as well as a private hotel management people
Hotel
as well.
management.
Wherein an opportunity for multiple people is being given as a state-wise tourism enhancement.
Tourism locations, they got lot of footfalls. They had some facilities, festivals in Goa, Hampi. So opportunities are there for business also. Any other questions?
Sir, I was mentioning that in Nice Road tollway, where they are charging toll fee even for two-wheeler. And when in my area where Devanahalli airport, that expressway, Navayuga expressway, where in that place the two-wheelers won't be charged. Why this sort of discrimination?
Actually, if you look at it, this is not a PPP. This, what did you say?
Nice road, nice road.
Nice road is not a PPP. What happened? There is a history to this. There is what is called a global investor meet. Yeah. Every year or every 2 years, government of Karnataka takes the target. In that, they invited investors. So Kane came and said, I'll do this road and also do 4 townships. Ramnagara, Channapatna, Manjaram, like that. Connect Bangalore to Mysore via Kanakpura, 110 kilometers. You give me land. That's how this works. It's not a PPP. So it was a separate contract. Agreement was written as what you call framework agreement. They did a framework agreement. It's not a contract.
In what difference does it make? Because here also in the Bangalore Mysore Expressway, they've given land. In Ashok Kenny's thing also, you said they've given land only. So what difference does it make?
That is the gym that is given an offer. There was no tender. There was no tender. One-to-one contract. Global investors meet to invite investors. You know, like they are inviting what you call this Apple factory. Manufacturing.
Foxconn.
We are giving them land, right, for captive use. Similarly, it is with the township. The attraction of township. They said government interest was you will depopulate Bangalore. People will move to these 4 townships. Business will thrive there. Importance. At the time, Devagowda, Ramnagara, all some political things is also there. Not only public service, politics also plays a major important. That's why earlier airport was somewhere here in Ramnagara. Then they said, then Tata survey they were talking about having the airport this side of the city, nature road side. So it's not a PPP, it's a direct word of contract like a Apple or a factory. He has used it for growth. He has made it as a business. And he was in a great loss of it. Without toll, he was doing it. Nice road, there was no toll at all. Initially, in the it's a bad project, bad example of this. There are many bad projects like this. Many projects fall by the wayside. They don't happen for various reasons, political, government decisions, or badly structured. Very Mavipura, you can Google and see. It's a great project. Again for land. 100 acres was promised to the Ramki promoter, developer. But 20 acres belong to forest department. Government didn't see that before awarding. They went and awarded. He came and sat and he said, I want to have my main gate this side. He finds that 20 acres forest department comes in. Another problem in PPP is if you do government to government, it's okay. If you give it to private, government other department will say no, we can't do it. Issues are there. It's a different class altogether. Issues in PPPs can be handled. How do you handle it? Let's see. Open the question. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was definitely a fruitful session. I'm sure all of us have gained a lot from this session. I would request Vikram to propose vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this occasion. To begin, first and foremost, I would like to thank our expert resource person, Dr. V. Satyanarayana, who, despite his busy schedule, managed to allocate time to contribute his vast expertise and experience to this occasion. Watching you deliver the lecture was a delightful experience. Now, I place on record my gratitude to our beloved principal, Dr. Dr. J. Mallikarjunaya, for his generous support for this event. I would like to thank the Vice Principal, Dr. Anita N. and our Assistant Professor, Ms. Soumya N. for their valuable contribution, guidance, and encouragement. Thank you. I hope Special thanks to all my dear friends for your cooperation. Once again, I thank you all for your attention. Thank you.